Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Book and Bean podcast. My name is Majesta Dawn. I'll be your host today. I'm the author of the debut novel Supernatural Supermom, which is being released on June 10th. And today we have with us first-time author Aggie Lee. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Wonderful. Well, since it is the Book and Bean podcast, let's start with the important thing. What are we drinking? I actually got this, and of course, my background makes it tough to see. This wonderful coffee mug from a Halloween spring event. It's got just haunted houses all around it. I spent way too much, but it was too beautiful and handcrafted to not get it. And I've got good old fashioned coffee. What about you?
Mine has got scripture on it. Actually, a customer gave it to me, and it's very like Psalms protection. And I'm drinking regular old well, no, it's Dunkin' Donuts caramel. I almost forgot what I put in here.
Hey, Dunkin' Donuts caramel, some good stuff.
Right? Yes, it is. And there's a little coffee in that creamer.
And a little coffee. That's how my husband drinks it. There's a little bit of coffee with his sugar, right?
Yeah, there's some sugar and some creamer, and I threw a little coffee in there too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, because I don't think I'll be able to make it through this podcast referring to you as Aggie Lee the whole time, we'll go ahead and be honest and say Aggie Lee is your pen name. So everyone, if you hear me calling her Christina, that's because that's her first name. We are friends in real life. We've known each other for several years. So what made you decide to choose the pen name Aggie Lee?
Well, Lee is my middle name, so it kind of went with that. And Aggie was like this nickname that my ex-husband always called me. I had no idea where it came from, and it kind of stuck. So when I was making a pen name, I'm like, what is me that people wouldn't know, but like very few people would know? And I'm like, Aggie. He always called me Aggie, and Lee's my middle name, so that's kind of how it got there.
It worked perfect. Awesome. So what made you make the decision to write your book under a pen name instead of using your actual name?
A lot of it is it's a fantasy book, and I didn't think that some of the family would approve, so I put it under a pen name so they wouldn't walk by and see this and like, oh, what is that? Oh, that's Christina wrote that. So I put it under a pen name, and that way if it's terrible, nobody knows it's me.
I think all first-time authors have that fear. And, I know a lot of authors choose to write under pen names because sometimes we have reservations, we hold back. Maybe we don't dive as deep into or aren't as true to the characters as we want to be because we worry about what will people think of us if they read this and know I wrote it. So I think a lot of authors use those pen names as a way to give themselves that freedom of expression, right?
Oh yeah, Aggie can do what she wants. Nobody knows.
Exactly. Awesome. So your first book is called Dark Rising. Tell us a little bit about Dark Rising.
Well, it is a fantasy novel. When I was I used to read a lot. I get really busy and I wasn't reading much. And I started reading on the apps during the pandemic because I could only binge watch so many shows. And I was reading all these, I was like werewolves and fantasy. I'm like, oh, I like this stuff. So I got a little bored and I came up with this one. So there's wolves, there's lichens, there's a little bit of everything in it actually. And that kind of all this stuff is in my head and I wanted to write my own, and this is what I ended up with. And I like it. I guess you write what you want to read, right?
Yes. Yep. So that's what a lot of times when we're searching for a book, I think as authors, and we're like, but I want to read about this. And when we can't find it, it pushes us to write it ourselves, right?
Yes. So there is lichen, there's a wolf, they're hybrid. I got tired of all the battles and they're being against rogues. So it's a war. They're at war. They fight a lot of other races. It's not just rogues, because I thought that was more interesting. I guess I got a lot of my inspiration from like Lord of the Rings, even Harry Potter. I loved Harry Potter. There's a war in Harry Potter.
Yes, yeah, I love Harry Potter.
So something that's kind of the direction I went with this.
Awesome. Wonderful. And, I remember when you told me you were starting to write this book, and I was so excited. When you told me you were I was so excited for you to start writing, but it was like, once you made the decision to, or at least this is how it felt as your friend when you were telling me about it. Once you made the decision to write this book, it was almost like you became possessed. You were like, no, I have to get these next few pages out. I have to before I can do anything else.
I wrote this book in just under 6 weeks. I'd had all this stuff in my head. I said I was reading this. I would get bored. I was thinking, and then finally I'm like, I'm just going to do it. And once I sat down and did it, like I would write 8 or 9 chapters in a couple hours. It just flew out. Like I was like, okay, I got almost 3/4 of the way done before I had to like, I got to research some of these things and see what they do. And I think about it, but yeah, I did it really fast. The editing was the worst. That was not fun at all.
Never the fun part. I agree. Not my favorite part at all. But I remember just being amazed. You'd message me, be like, got another 5 chapters done, got another 8 chapters. And I'm like, whoa, you were on a roll.
Yep. It came out really fast. I guess I always wanted to do it. So once I started, I couldn't stop. And I did get a little obsessed. The house kind of looks really bad, but the book was done.
That I'm sure every author can relate to that, right? Everything else, all housework, all chores fall to the side when you start diving in and focusing on a book, because it's like if you let it, it'll write itself. Sometimes the characters are just coming out.
I had all that and I'm like, okay, once I started putting it down on paper or typing it, it was like, it went really quick and it was fun. It was fun. It was relaxing too. I don't have a lot of hobbies. I don't do a lot other than work. So I was like, I can do this. This is nice. I a couple hours in the evening, I set time aside. It's like, okay, I need to get this part done, or I need to edit. So I do have to schedule it, but it is still fun.
Yes, absolutely. And you've started on book 2, right?
Yes.
Now this will be in the same series, so we'll get to see the same characters reappear and maybe some new ones introduced as well.
Yes. And I actually have 3 books planned out so far. I don't know if I'll go farther than that, but I have 3 that I planned out. And I planned them all out pretty quickly as well. Like I was like, I want to do this one. Well, then they can do this. Well, after that, then they can do this. So I have The Dark Rising, and then the next one is Betrayed. I'm about a quarter done on it. And of course, I've worked on the 3rd one. I just have a kind of an outline.
Awesome. So now you decided to go a little bit of a different route, right? Now, as indie publishing is getting more and more popular, there are more and more ways for us as authors to get our books out there. And I know, like you said, your book came out so quick. You were ready to get it out there and get it into people's hands even faster. So you decided to use apps that are available to publish your book that way. So anybody who's a member at one of those apps will have the opportunity or access to your books. Tell me a little bit about what that was like and what made you decide to go that route.
Well, I think what made me decide to go that route is that's what I was using when I was reading my books. You know, especially on lockdown, you couldn't just go buy a book. You couldn't go to the store. So all these started popping up and I'm like, oh, okay, I can read that. I'm like, well, there's some good books on there. And I figured it was a great way to get it out there quickly. There's some good sides is that you can get it out there quickly. It goes to masses of people, like all different countries. It goes everywhere. The bad side is you don't have your own little book to hold. You don't have your little published book. Like you don't have it. You can't show anybody. You have to look through the app on I did this, and you don't have a book. But it's not super easy. Each one has different requirements. So you're sitting there, cut, paste, edit. So I guess the book is a little different depending on which app you read it on because of their requirements. So it's not like super simple. Like I'm just going to upload it and go. No, there's work.
They can't make it too easy for us, can they?
No, but you also, if you want it edited, you have to get your own editor. You have to make your own cover. Like I found this on Pinterest, and there's no cover design. There's no help with anything. You don't have that support. Like if you have an actual publisher. So we went completely different routes on how we did it.
We did. I have to tell you, like the editing, the cover design, and like uploading the formatting, to me, that's the hardest part. Like I admire that you were able to do that and get your book out there, because it is not easy. Like I don't think many people realize how much work goes into it. It's not as simple as just sitting down and writing your book. Like that's the easy part.
That's the easy part. I was like, oh, I did this. And I spent as much time trying to figure this stuff out and get it uploaded as I did writing the book,
Yeah.
It really, and it's because you have to, and you have to apply for contracts. You have to wait for the approval. You can't just throw it up there and they take it.
Yeah. Yep. So it's a process for sure.
Hmm.
Well, tell everybody, what apps can we find Dark Rising on?
So far, it is on iStory, Mobo Reader, Novel Cat, and Fox Novel, and it is waiting for approval at Good Novel. I applied for the contract, and they are reviewing it. So if all goes well, it should be on there by June.
Excellent. And we can look forward we can look forward to book number 2 being released shortly. Any ideas?
Well, I gave myself a time frame, and I am generally organized and like to stick to my time frame because it bothers me. So probably by July.
Nice. Now I need to ask you, Christina or Aggie Lee. I'm like I said, people, I'm sorry. I know we're in real life, so it's hard, but are you a pantser or a plotter? Or do you know what that means? Because just up until 2 weeks ago, when I was on my first podcast, I did not know what it meant. And they asked me that, and I was like, huh?
Well, the only way I know any of that is because I watched your podcast.
Okay.
So I don't know. I guess can you be both?
You can be a combination, because that's kind of what I was going to say. I see you as a combination of both. You have vague outlines, a couple little plot points that you put out, but then for the details, you go by the seat of your pants, right?
Yes. I have an outline of like, okay, I made my characters, made my plot, where it's going to be, stuff like that. And then kind of like, okay, this has to go this way and this way. And then the rest is just fly by the seat of my pants and type it in. So I guess I'm both. Yeah, I'm both.
Well, I have to tell you, I'm trying to do a little more plotting for book number 2 of Supernatural Supermom. And I know you were the expert at all things fantasy world creatures. We know Maggie, my main character, is a witch, and there are some other like paranormal supernatural creatures. But I'm gonna need your help to deciding for a couple characters what kind of creature they should be in book number 2. I know I need a couple different types, but I'm not sure which is going to be best for each character. And you're the expert when it comes to these things.
I did a lot of research on it, and I have some stuff, and I'm trying to put stuff on TikTok and put like pictures of what, because like if I say, well, when we were sitting there talking, it's like, well, wonder what's going to win, a lichen or a manticore, and you're like, what's the manticore?
Yes.
So I said I have to put this up so that people know what it is. But
yes,
we're going to have to go to swim so we can sit there and discuss this. That's our meeting time.
Yes. Our kids have swim lessons together, and that's when we discuss books.
That's how we got a lot of where we are so far.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I know I pushed you hardcore to get onto Book Talk. That's where, because every other author that I've interviewed on this podcast has been someone I met through Book Talk. You're my first real life friend that's going to be on here. But it really is a great community to kind of get your work out there, to meet other people who are interested in the same thing. So keep posting. I'm looking forward to seeing more from Aggie Lee. Yeah.
I'm not good at videos. Like, I'm old. This is like something I'm like, what am I doing? And doing this, like I said, is very outside my comfort zone. I don't like to get on the camera and make videos. I'm trying. I'm trying. It's a little at a time, but thank goodness that your daughter taught me how to edit.
My daughter taught me how to edit too. Don't worry.
Because I'm like, what are you doing? Just do that. Okay, thank you. So if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have got as far as I did. So thank goodness for that.
Yeah, she definitely she'll get irritated with me because I'll be like, hey, sweetie, come here. How do I make this timer stop here and then fast forward or slow mo? And she'll be like, you do this, Mom. Gosh.
I know.
And then I have to tell the story. I'm going to throw myself under the bus for public embarrassment for Book Talk. I did one of my first TikTok lives the other day, and it looked like I had like 8 viewers or so on there, right? But I'm not really good at it yet. I don't really know how to go live. I'm trying to read comments and figure out what's going on. But I do know that when you're live, people can send you gifts. And if they send you gifts, it's money. Like it translates into like a tip. They've sent you money.
Oh,
And so
I like tips.
I know, right? And I see come across my screen, so and so sent you a universe, which is supposed to be like one of the big gifts. And I'm like on the live. I'm going, thank you so much. I missed the name to see who sent that to me, but someone sent me a universe. I'm not sure exactly what it means, but I know it's a really good gift. So thank you so much. And my daughter, because she was watching my live on her phone from the other room, she comes in, she goes, that gift wasn't for you. It went to someone else who was on the live. You didn't get a gift.
Oh my goodness.
Oh no.
Oh my
Hopefully
goodness.
there weren't
That's
enough
funny.
people watching to catch that mistake. So no book talk gifts for me yet.
Oh my goodness. I didn't even know you get gifts. So you're way better, way better than me. Doing way better than me. I'm like, what is that?
And the only reason I know that you get gifts is because one of my favorite lives to watch at nighttime before I'm going to bed is where they do the ASMR. I'm gonna shout out to, I think, Vivacity on TikTok. She does the ASMR and she'll be like, pluck the negativity, pluck the negativity.
I might have seen that.
Yeah, and then
Allergies.
she does
Oh
like
my
the
God.
fingernail things on her microphone, and I'm like, this is so
Yeah.
relaxing. And you'll see people sending her like sunglasses or universes,
Mhm.
and every time they send those things that pop up on her face, that's a gift. So that's how I learned about that. Was not from
Oh,
book talk, but from ASMR talk.
okay. Because I did not know that you could do that ever. So, well, thanks for that. I've learned something new today.
The more you know, right?
Yes, the more you know.
With the
I
little
agree.
theme music. Awesome. Well, can you please, Christina, send me your links to the apps where people can find your book? We're going to post it up with this video. Everybody, please hop on these apps. Check out Dark Rising by Aggie Lee, especially if you're into fantasy, if you like a good war, some fighting. There's romance in there
There's a
too.
little, a tad bit of smut, but it's probably like level 1. I wasn't real comfortable with writing smut, but I wrote it. I'd write it and I'm like, ooh, do I want people to read that? What if my kids read that? But I did. I wrote a little bit.
And it was very good. As someone who has read the book, I can say it's very good. Definitely go out there and read it, everybody. Thank you so much, Christina, aka Aggie Lee, for being a guest on the Book and Beam podcast today.
Well, thank you so very much for having me.
Thank you. And everybody, keep reading.